My parents kicked me out. I used my grandpa's old card. And the bank manager froze at $1.2 billion. Ethan, a young man subjected to constant abuse and neglect by his parents who favor his younger brother Kevin, is given a mysterious old bank card and a sealed pin by his loving grandfather before his passing, with instructions to use it only in dire circumstances. On his 18th birthday, his parents brutally evict him to make room for Kevin's gaming setup, leaving him homeless and destitute. Desperate, Ethan enters a high-end bank, where the worn-out card reveals an astonishing $1.2 billion inheritance, shocking the bank manager and unraveling his grandfather's secret life as a tycoon. Empowered, Ethan transforms his life, ultimately confronting his regretful parents and securing his revenge by thriving without them. The smell of bacon grease and caramelized maple syrup didn't signal a celebration. It signaled that Kevin was awake. From my position on the thin, lumpy mattress shoved into the corner of the oversized storage closet my parents called a third bedroom, I could hear the distinct clatter of silverware and the hum of the espresso machine downstairs. It was a Saturday morning, the sun barely scraping through the single, narrow window high on the wall, casting a pale, dusty rectangle across my legs. Today was significant, though not for the reasons normal families celebrated. Today, the calendar on my phone, a cracked third-hand model I'd salvaged from the trash 2 years ago, read October 14th. I was 18. I sat up, the springs of the mattress groaning in protest. There were no balloons in the hallway, no streamers taped to the doorframe. There never had been, not for me. My birthdays were usually marked by the quiet acknowledgement that I had survived another year of invisibility. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and looked at the peeling beige paint on the opposite wall. "Happy birthday, Ethan," I whispered to the empty room. My voice sounded dry, unused. Before I could muster the energy to stand, my gaze drifted to the loose floorboard beneath the window. It was my only secret, the only thing in this house that was truly mine. I crawled over, my knees aching against the cold hardwood, and pried the board up with my fingernails. There, nestled in a bed of gray insulation, sat a small, rusted tin box. I opened it, my heart doing a slow, heavy thud against my ribs. Inside was a single object, a black bank card. It looked ancient. The plastic was matte, the edges fraying and peeling as if it had been through a washing machine 100 times. There was no bank logo, no holographic dove or globe, just a row of embossed numbers that had been worn almost flat. Underneath it sat a small, wax-sealed envelope containing 4 digits. My grandfather's voice echoed in my head, as clear as if he were sitting beside me. Grandpa George had passed 3 months ago, the only loss that had ever brought tears to my eyes. "Ethan, look at me," he had rasped, his hand gripping mine with surprising strength despite the IV lines taped to his skin. The hospital room had smelled of antiseptic and dying flowers. "This family, they don't understand you. They don't see you. But I do." He had pressed the card into my palm then, his eyes burning with a feverish intensity. "I kept this for a long time. It looks like nothing, I know. But promise me. Promise me you won't use it unless the sky falls. Unless you have absolutely nowhere else to turn. It's your escape hatch, boy. Not a toy." I touched the card now, the cool plastic feeling heavy in my hand. I had almost thrown it away when he died, thinking it was just the delirium of a dying man. It looked like a library card from the 90s, but I kept it. It was the only gift I had ever received that wasn't a hand-me-down from Kevin. A heavy thud against my door shattered the memory. I shoved the tin back into the hole and stamped the floorboard down just as the door flew open. My father stood there, filling the frame. He was a large man, his face perpetually flushed with a low simmering anger that usually boiled over in my direction. He wasn't holding a present. He was holding a roll of heavy-duty black garbage bags. "Up," he barked. "Now." I scrambled to my feet, pulling my t-shirt down. "I'm up. I don't care what you were just," he interrupted, tossing the roll of bags at me. It hit me in the chest with a dull slap and fell to the floor. "Happy birthday. You're 18. "Thanks," I said, though I knew from his tone that it wasn't a greeting. It was a legal definition. My mother appeared behind him, sipping from a mug that read, 1-1 Mom. She looked at me with the same detached annoyance she usually reserved for a stain on the carpet. "We've been counting down the days, Ethan," she said, her voice smooth and cold. "Legally, our obligation to house and feed you ends today. We've done our duty. We kept you alive." I stared at them, a cold pit opening in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" "The room," my father said, gesturing vaguely around my closet-sized space. "Kevin needs it. His streaming setup is getting too big for his bedroom. He needs a dedicated studio if he's going to take his gaming career seriously." "Kevin is 12, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "He plays Minecraft." "He is a content creator," my mother snapped, her eyes narrowing. "And he has potential, unlike some people who barely managed to scrape through high school." "I had a 3.8 GPA, I argued, my voice rising. "I only didn't go to college because you refused to sign the financial aid forms." "Excuses," my father grunted. He stepped into the room, kicking the garbage bags toward my feet. "You have 1 hour. Anything not in a bag by 10 o'clock goes in the dumpster. And I mean the actual dumpster, Ethan, not the curb." The room seemed to tilt. The cruelty wasn't new, but the finality of it was. They weren't just being mean. They were erasing me. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to stay stoic. "I have no money. I have no car." "You're a man now," my father said, turning his back on me. "Figure it out. That's what men do." "We need the space cleared by lunch," my mother added, checking her watch. "The contractors are coming to knock down the wall between this room and Kevin's. We're putting in soundproofing." They turned and walked away, leaving the door wide open. From down the hall, I heard a high-pitched laugh. Kevin. He knew. He had probably helped pick out the soundproofing foam. I stood frozen for a full minute, the silence of the house pressing in on me. The smell of the bacon was still in the air, taunting me. I looked at the garbage bags at my feet. This was it. The sum total of 18 years of life. I moved on autopilot. I didn't have much to pack, which was the only mercy in the situation. I grabbed the first bag and shook it open. Into it went my clothes, mostly worn denim and flannel shirts that were fraying at the cuffs, my socks, my underwear. I went to the desk, a wobbly card table, and swept my school notebooks into the bag. I hesitated over a photo of me and Grandpa George taken at a park when I was 10, then tucked it carefully between the pages of a journal. When the first bag was full, I sat on the bed and breathed. I felt lightheaded. This had to be a joke, a sick, twisted, hazing ritual. But as I looked around the bare walls, I knew it wasn't. They had never wanted a second son. I was the error they had tolerated for 18 years, and the statute of limitations had just run out. I went back to the floorboard. I pried it up and took out the rusted tin. I took the black card and the sealed envelope, shoving them deep into the front pocket of my jeans. I left the tin. 1 hour, I muttered to myself. I finished in 40 minutes. 2 black bags. That was my life. Dragging them down the hallway felt like a funeral procession of one. I passed Kevin's room. The door was ajar. He was sitting in an ergonomic gaming chair that cost more than I had ever spent in my life, illuminated by the purple glow of LED strips. He turned, his headset around his neck, and saw me dragging the bags. "Nice bags," he smirked, taking a bite of a piece of bacon. "Make sure you don't scratch the paint on your way out. Mom just had the hallway touched up." I stopped. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drop the bags and tackle him, to shake him until he understood what it felt like to be hungry, to be cold, to be unloved. But I looked at his soft, pampered face, and I realized he wouldn't understand. He was a product of them. "Goodbye, Kevin," I said quietly. "Bye, loser," he replied, turning back to his 3 monitors. I walked down the stairs. My parents were in the living room, watching a morning news show. My father didn't look up from his tablet. My mother glanced at me, then at the bags, and then back to the TV. "Leave the house key on the table," she said. I paused at the front door. "I don't have any cash," I said. Could Could I just have $20 for food? My father laughed. It was a dry, barking sound. You have 2 strong hands and a back. Go work. No more handouts. Handouts? I choked out. You're my parents. We were your guardians, my father corrected, finally looking at me. His eyes were hard, like flint. Contracts up. Key. Table. Now. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the silver key that had let me into this house for a decade, and dropped it on the mahogany console table. It hit the wood with a sharp clack. I gripped the plastic of the garbage bags until my knuckles turned white. I opened the front door and the autumn air rushed in, crisp and biting. It was colder than I expected. Close the door, my mother called out without turning around. You're letting the heat out. I stepped onto the porch and pulled the heavy oak door shut. I didn't slam it. I closed it with a precise, definitive click. The sound of the deadbolt sliding home from the inside followed immediately. I stood on the front step of the house I had grown up in. It was a nice house. A 2-story colonial in a respectable suburb. The lawn was manicured. The hedges were trimmed. To anyone driving by, it looked like the home of a happy, successful family. I picked up my bags, the plastic stretching under the weight, and walked down the driveway. I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I looked back, I might break down, and I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry through the window. I reached the sidewalk and turned left, simply because the wind was blowing from the right. I walked for blocks, the adrenaline of the confrontation slowly fading, replaced by a dull, aching panic. The neighborhood was quiet. A dog barked in the distance. A car drove past, the driver ignoring the boy carrying trash bags on his birthday. My stomach rumbled, a painful reminder that I hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday at school, my last day of guaranteed meals. I had no plan. I had no destination. I had 2 bags of clothes and a grandfather's strange, possibly senile parting gift in my pocket. I walked until the suburban houses gave way to the grittier texture of the city outskirts. My arms burned. My fingers were numb from gripping the plastic. I found a bus stop bench that was relatively clean and collapsed onto it, piling my bags next to me to ward off the wind. I sat there for a long time, watching the world move on without me. People walked by with coffees, talking on phones, living lives that made sense. I felt like an astronaut whose tether had been cut, drifting slowly into the dark. My hand drifted to my pocket. I felt the outline of the card. Only when you have nothing else. Well, Grandpa, I whispered, watching a gray cloud cover the sun. I have nothing else. I pulled the card out. In the daylight, it looked even worse. The black lamination was bubbling in the corner. It looked like a piece of junk plastic you'd find in a gutter. A scrap. A mistake. But it was all I had. I looked down the street. 3 blocks away, the glass facade of the First National Bank gleamed, reflecting the gray sky. It wasn't my bank. I didn't have a bank, but it was a bank. Fear gripped me. What if the card was fake? What if I walked in there, dirty and carrying garbage bags, and tried to use a piece of plastic that didn't work? They'd laugh at me. Or worse, call the police. But the cold was seeping through my thin jacket, and the hunger was turning into a sharp cramp. I didn't have a choice. I stood up, hoisted the bags over my shoulders, and began the long walk toward the glass building. I was Ethan, I was 18, and I was entirely alone. The iron armrest of the park bench dug into my ribs, a cold, unyielding reminder of my new reality. I shifted, trying to find a position that didn't make my bruised hips scream in protest, but the wooden slats were unforgiving. They were designed to be temporary seating for pedestrians enjoying a sunny afternoon, not a bed for an 18-year-old castaway. It had been 3 days, 72 hours since the lock clicked shut on the only life I had ever known. The cold was the first thing to break me. It wasn't the biting winter frost that makes your teeth chatter. It was a damp, creeping chill that settled into the marrow of my bones and refused to leave. It was the early morning mist that clung to my clothes, the same jeans and hoodie I had been wearing since the eviction, making them heavy and sodden. I pulled my knees strictly against my chest, tucking my chin inside the collar of my jacket, trying to recycle my own body heat. It was a losing battle. Hunger was a different beast entirely. The first day, it had been a sharp, clawing pain in my stomach. By now, the third day, it had dull, throbbing ache that made me lightheaded every time I stood up. I watched a pigeon peck at a discarded crust of bread near the trash can a few feet away. For a fleeting, humiliating second, I felt a surge of jealousy toward the bird. It had a purpose. It had sustenance. I had nothing but a backpack filled with clothes that smelled like stale detergent and the bitter aftertaste of betrayal. I squeezed my eyes shut, but sleep was a ghost. Every time I drifted off, the sounds of the city jerked me back. A siren wailing in the distance, the rumble of a heavy truck, the laughter of a group of teenagers passing by on the sidewalk. That laughter was the worst. It sounded so much like Kevin. "Can't have you cluttering up the space, Ethan. Kevin needs the room to stream. It's his career." My father's voice echoed in my head, playing on a loop. It wasn't shouted. It was spoken with the casual indifference of someone taking out the trash. They hadn't even looked at me when they put the bags on the porch. They just looked past me, toward the future they were building for my brother, a future that required my absence. I sat up, the world tilting slightly on its axis as the blood rushed from my head. I needed to move. Staying still gave the despair too much time to take root, and I could feel it wrapping around my throat, choking the air out of me. I picked up my backpack, the straps frayed and digging into my shoulders. It was light, terrifyingly light. My entire existence, 18 years of life reduced to 12 pounds of cotton and denim. I began to walk, aimlessly at first, just to keep the blood flowing. The park was waking up. Joggers in expensive spandex whizzed past me, their headphones sealing them off in private worlds of rhythm and motivation. A woman walking a golden retriever pulled the leash tighter as she passed me, her eyes darting to my disheveled hair and the dark circles I knew were bruising the skin under my eyes. She didn't see a boy. She saw a threat. She saw blight. I looked down at my shoes. The sneakers were decent, a birthday gift from 2 years ago, but the white rubber was scuffed and gray with street grime. I walked until I found a secluded spot near the duck pond, obscured by a weeping willow that draped its branches like a curtain. It was damp here, but hidden. I collapsed at the base of the tree, the hunger pangs twisting sharply. I needed a plan. I needed water. I needed a miracle. With trembling hands, I unzipped the front pocket of my backpack. I knew what was in there, yet I checked it like a ritual, hoping that maybe I had missed a forgotten $20 bill or a granola bar. My fingers brushed against a spare pair of socks, a toothbrush without a case, and then, at the very bottom, the cold, smooth surface of the tin box. I pulled it out. It was an old Altoids tin, the paint scratched off the lid. Inside was my grandfather's legacy. Grandpa moved in my memory then, a stark contrast to the cold indifference of my parents. He smelled like old paper and peppermint. He was the only one who had ever looked at me and seen me, not just the shadow cast by Kevin's brilliance. "For when the rain comes, Ethan," he had whispered, his voice raspy and weak in those final days. "Don't use it for candy. Don't use it for toys. Use it when the world turns its back." I opened the tin. Inside lay the black card. I took it out, holding it by the edges. It didn't look like salvation. It looked like a prop from a bad movie. The surface was matte black, devoid of the shiny, holographic chips or raised silver numbers I saw on the cards my dad used to buy Kevin his consoles. It was heavy, though, heavier than plastic. It felt like metal, cold and dense. The edges were worn, the black coating chipping away to reveal a dull silver underneath. There was no bank logo, no Visa or MasterCard symbol. Just a magnetic strip on the back and a signature strip that had never been signed. Next to it in the tin was a small folded piece of yellowed notebook paper. I unfolded it carefully, terrified the wind might snatch it away. 1024. That was it. Just 4 numbers scrawled in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. I stared at the card. A surge of bitterness rose in my throat, tasting like bile. What was this? A cruel joke? A senile old man's delusion? Grandpa had been a janitor for most of his life, living in a small apartment that smelled of boiled cabbage and floor wax. He didn't have money. He certainly didn't have black credit cards. "It's nothing," I whispered to the empty air. My voice sounded cracked and foreign. "It's a piece of junk." I almost threw it into the pond, my arm tensed, ready to fling the rectangle of metal into the murky green water. Why carry around false hope? It was heavy enough carrying the reality of my situation, but I didn't throw it. My stomach roared, a deep, cavernous sound that vibrated through my ribs. I had no money. I had no ID. My parents had kept my birth certificate and social security card, claiming they were safer in the home safe I didn't know the combination to. I couldn't get a job without papers. I couldn't get a shelter bed without waiting in lines that formed 5 hours ago. I looked at the card again. It was pathetic, really. Scratched, ugly, and likely expired a decade ago if it was ever real to begin with. But it was the only thing I had left of the man who loved me, and it was the only door I hadn't tried to open. "Dire circumstances," I muttered, recalling his instructions. I looked around the park. The sun was hiding behind a thick blanket of gray clouds, threatening rain. I had nowhere to go. No friends who would risk their parents' wrath to take in a runaway. No family who cared. I was sleeping under a tree like an animal. If this wasn't dire, nothing was. I shoved the paper with the pin into my pocket and gripped the card tight in my palm. The metal warmed slightly against my skin. "Okay, Grandpa," I said, looking up at the gray sky. "I'm playing your game, but if this gets me arrested, I'm going to be really pissed off at you in the afterlife." I stood up, brushing the dirt and dead leaves from my jeans. The dizziness hit me again, forcing me to grab the trunk of the willow tree to steady myself. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of upcoming rain and wet earth. I needed a bank. Not just an ATM. I was terrified that if I put this weird, non-standard card into a machine, it would eat it and I'd never see it again. I needed a human being. I needed a teller. The financial district was about a 40-minute walk from here. My legs felt like lead, heavy and unresponsive, but I forced one foot in front of the other. As I left the sanctuary of the park and stepped onto the concrete sidewalk, the noise of the city assaulted me again. I walked past a bakery. The smell of fresh yeast and sugar wafted out the open door, hitting me with the force of a physical blow. I stopped, staring through the glass at a tray of cinnamon rolls. My mouth watered so painfully it made my jaw ache. I checked my pockets, just to be sure, but found only lint and the sharp corners of the black card. I kept walking. The further I got from the park, the taller the buildings became. Glass and steel towers stretched up toward the clouds, reflecting the dreary sky. People here walked faster, dressed in suits that cost more than my parents' car. They spoke into phones with urgency, carrying briefcases and leather portfolios. I caught my reflection in a shop window and flinched. I looked like a scarecrow. My hair was a matted mess of brown waves, my face was pale and gaunt, and my hoodie was stained with mud near the hem. I didn't belong here. I was a stain on the pristine pavement of the financial district. The doubt returned, louder this time. "They're going to laugh at you," a voice in my head whispered. It sounded like Kevin. "You're going to walk into a bank looking like a beggar, hand them a piece of scrap metal, and they're going to call security. You're going to end up in a cell." I slowed my pace. The fear was paralyzing. Rejection was a wound that hadn't scabbed over yet. The idea of facing more of it, of being sneered at by a bank teller, made me want to curl up in an alleyway and disappear. But then I remembered the bench. I remembered the cold pressing into my spine. I remembered the way my father had looked at his watch while I packed my bags, bored by the inconvenience of my departure. I gripped the card in my pocket so hard the corners bit into my palm. I needed to know, even if it was a lie, even if it was a mistake. I needed to know so I could finally let go of the last shred of hope and accept my fate. I turned the corner and saw it. The Apex Majestic Bank. It occupied the corner of the block, a fortress of white marble and gold lettering. It looked less like a bank and more like a temple. Revolving doors spun slowly, admitting men in pinstripe suits and women with designer handbags. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. This was the place. If a card like this, a heavy black metal card, belonged anywhere, it belonged in a place that smelled of money. I stood on the sidewalk for a long time, just watching. People flowed around me like water around a stone, careful not to touch me. "Just do it," I whispered. "Just go." My stomach gave a violent lurch, a painful reminder of the stakes. I wasn't doing this for greed. I wasn't doing this for a new gaming setup or a sports car. I was doing this for a sandwich. I was doing this for a night in a motel room with a shower and a locking door. I took a deep, trembling breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. I pulled the hood of my sweatshirt down, trying to look a little less like a vagrant, though I knew it was a futile effort. I patted the pocket with the PIN code one last time. With the ghost of my grandfather, hand on my shoulder, and the weight of his legacy in my pocket, I stepped toward the revolving doors. The warmth of the building spilled out to meet me, contrasting sharply with the cold dread in my gut. I was either walking toward my salvation or the final punchline of a terrible joke. There was no turning back. The reflection staring back at me from the polished brass plate of the revolving door was hardly recognizable. My hair was matted with grease and dust from 2 nights of sleeping under the sprawling oak in the city park, and the dark circles under my eyes looked like bruises. The t-shirt I wore, once white, was now a canvas of gray smudges and sweat stains. I looked like exactly what I was, a vagrant, a nuisance, a stain on the pristine facade of downtown's financial district. But inside my pocket, pressing against my hip bone, was the heavy, cold square of metal my grandfather had pressed into my hand on his deathbed. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the glass. The air conditioning blasting from the building's entrance kissed my face, a cruel reminder of the oppressive, humid heat I'd been living in. People in suits tailored to perfection brushed past me, their eyes sliding over my form as if I didn't exist. Or worse, as if I were something to be avoided, like a puddle of sewage. "Do it, Ethan," I whispered to myself, my voice cracking from dehydration. "Just go inside. The worst they can do is kick you out again. You're already at rock bottom." I pushed the door. The silence of the bank was immediate and absolute, swallowing the roar of the city traffic behind me. It felt less like a financial institution and more like a cathedral dedicated to the worship of wealth. The floors were marble, veined with gold and black, so polished I could see the cracks in the soles of my worn-out sneakers reflected in them. The air smelled of expensive cologne, ozone, and the crisp, terrifying scent of new money. I took 3 steps before the security guard shifted. He was a mountain of a man standing near a velvet rope, his uniform crisp and intimidating. His gaze locked onto me, his hand drifting instinctively toward his belt. He didn't speak, but his body language screamed a warning. "Turn around." I lowered my head, staring at the floor, and shuffled toward the teller stations. My heart was hammering against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. I felt like a criminal just by existing in this space. Every click of a heel on the marble sounded like a judge's gavel. There were 5 windows, but only one was open. Behind the thick, bulletproof glass sat a woman who looked as sharp and cold as the architecture. Her name tag read, Vicky, Senior Associate. She was typing furiously, her manicured nails clicking like hail on a tin roof. When I approached the counter, the typing stopped. She didn't look up immediately. She finished whatever sentence she was typing, took a slow sip from a bottle of sparkling water, and then, finally, deigned to acknowledge me. Her eyes narrowed, scanning me from my dirty hair to my frayed jeans. Her nose wrinkled slightly, a microscopic twitch of disgust. "This is a private bank for account holders," she said. Her voice was flat, devoid of warmth. It wasn't a question, it was a dismissal. "The public restroom is 2 blocks down at the subway station." "I have an account," I stammered, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. "Did I? I didn't even know what bank the card belonged to. Grandfather had just said, 'Use it.'" Vicky let out a short, incredulous huff of air. "You have an account here, at Sterling & Co." "I have a card," I corrected, my hand trembling as I reached into my pocket. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call security. We don't have time for panhandling inside the lobby." "Just look at it," I pleaded, desperation sharpening my voice. I pulled the card out. It looked pathetic. In the harsh fluorescent lighting of the bank, The card seemed even more ancient than it had in the dark of the park. It was entirely black, matte and dull, with no bank logo, no colorful graphics, and no embossed numbers on the front. The edges were worn down to the metal core. It looked like a piece of scrap metal I'd picked up from a junkyard. I slid it under the glass partition. It made a heavy thud against the granite counter, heavier than plastic should sound. Vicky stared at it, not touching it. "What is this? A library card?" "Please," I whispered, my throat tight. "Just swipe it. My grandfather, he left it for me." She sighed, a long, exaggerated sound that echoed in the quiet hall. She picked it up with 2 fingers, as if it were contaminated with a disease. She turned it over. There was a magnetic strip, scratched in gray, and a faint signature strip that had long since faded. "This isn't going to work," she muttered, clearly humoring me so she could justify kicking me out when the machine rejected it. "And when it declines, you are leaving. Immediately." "Okay," I breathed. "Okay." She positioned the card at the top of her terminal. I held my breath. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the harsh beep of rejection, the humiliation, the grab of the security guard's hand on my collar. Zip. The sound of the swipe was soft, then silence. I opened one eye. Vicky was staring at her screen. She frowned, tapping a key. Nothing happened. She tapped it again, harder. "Piece of junk," she muttered, reaching for the card to throw it back at me. Suddenly, a sound cut through the lobby. It wasn't a beep. It was a low, resonant chime, like a church bell ringing underwater. It came from her computer, then from the terminal next to her, and then, terrifyingly, from the speakers in the ceiling. The lights in the lobby dimmed by 50%. A soft blue ambient light washed over the counters. Vicky gasped, jerking her hand back as if the keyboard had burned her. What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," I panicked, taking a step back. "Is it broken?" Her screen had gone black, save for a single, pulsating golden emblem in the center, a stylized lion holding a key. The same symbol appeared on the main display board behind the tellers, replacing the currency exchange rates. "Security!" Vicky shrieked, her composure shattering. "He hacked the system! Grab him!" The mountain of a guard launched himself off the wall, his heavy boots thudding toward me. I cowered, raising my hands to protect my face. It was a trap, I thought, tears stinging my eyes. "Grandpa, why? Why did you give me a fake card?" "Halt!" The voice cracked like a whip from the back of the bank. It wasn't loud, but it possessed an authority that froze the security guard mid-stride. A heavy oak door behind the teller line burst open. A man sprinted out, actually sprinted. He was older, with silver hair and a suit that looked like it cost more than the house I grew up in. He was sweating, his face pale, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and awe. "Stand down!" the man shouted at the guard, who was inches from grabbing my arm. "Back away from him, immediately!" The guard blinked, confused. "Sir, the system went into lockdown." "This transient—" "Step back." The man's voice trembled with rage. He rushed to the counter, nearly knocking Vicky out of her chair. He stared at the screen with the golden lion, then looked down at the battered black card sitting on the granite. His hands hovered over it, shaking. He didn't touch it. He looked at it as if it were a holy relic. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, he lifted his gaze to meet mine. He didn't see the dirt. He didn't see the grease. He looked at me with an intensity that made my knees weak. "The Obsidian Reserve," he whispered. It sounded like a prayer. He rounded the counter, bypassing the security glass, and came out into the lobby. He stopped 3 feet in front of me and bowed. He actually bowed his head. "Sir," he said, his voice thick with emotion. My deepest apologies. We were not alerted to your arrival. Had we known, I would have cleared the floor." I stared at him, my mouth agape. I just wanted to buy some food. Is there any money on it?" Vicky let out a scoff from behind the glass. "Mr. Sterling, surely this is a mistake. Look at him. He probably stole that card from a dead body." Mr. Sterling whipped his head around, his eyes blazing. "Ms. Vance, you are relieved of duty. Pack your things. You are fired." "What?" Vicky shrieked. "Because of this bum?" "You just insulted a holder of the sovereign obsidian key," Sterling snarled. "You are lucky if you aren't blacklisted from the entire banking industry by noon. Go." He turned back to me, his expression softening instantly into servility. "Please, sir, come with me. The lobby is not appropriate for a discussion of this magnitude." He gestured toward the heavy oak door. I hesitated. I was still waiting for the punchline, the prank to end. But the fear in the room had shifted. The guard was looking at the floor. Vicky was sobbing quietly as she gathered her purse. And Mr. Sterling looked like he was afraid I might vaporize him if he blinked wrong. "Okay," I said quietly. I followed him. His office was vast, smelling of leather and mahogany. He gestured for me to sit in a chair that felt like a cloud. He didn't sit behind his desk. Instead, he pulled a chair around to sit facing me, ensuring he wasn't looking down on me. "My name is Robert Sterling," he said, clasping his hands together. "I have managed this branch for 20 years. I have never seen one of these activated in person." He placed the black card gently on the low table between us. "You asked if there was money on it," Sterling said gently. "Yes," I swallowed. "My grandfather, Arthur. He gave it to me. He said to use it only if I had nowhere else to go." Sterling nodded slowly. "Arthur. Yes." The system identified the DNA trace from the card immediately, linked to the successor protocols. "It's biocoded. That's why the alarm's triggered. It confirmed you are the legitimate heir." "Heir?" I asked. He was just a retired mechanic. He lived in the in-law suite." Sterling let out a soft, breathless laugh. "A mechanic. Yes. He liked to tinker. But before he retired, sir, your grandfather was the silent partner in the founding of the Omni Global Logistics Network. He was one of the architects of the modern shipping industry." My head spun. "Shipping? Grandpa?" "He liquidated his assets 40 years ago and placed them into a blind trust, accessible only via this card, the Obsidian Key. It has been compounding, accruing interest, untouched." Sterling reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a sleek, transparent tablet. He tapped it a few times and then turned the screen toward me. "We don't usually discuss balances out loud," Sterling said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "But given the circumstances..." I looked at the screen. I blinked. I rubbed my dirty eyes and looked again. There were so many zeros, commas separating them into groups of 3. I tried to count them, but my brain refused to process the string of digits. 121, 240, 560, 9 and 12, 40. "I don't understand," I mumbled. Is that 1 million? Sterling shook his head slightly, a sad smile on his face. "No, Mr. Ethan. That is $1,240,000,000. The room tilted. I gripped the arms of the leather chair to keep from falling off the face of the earth. "Billion," I repeated. The word felt too big for my mouth, too big for my brain. "With a B," Sterling confirmed. "This account has no limit. No withdrawal fees, no oversight. It is the purest form of liquid capital in existence. You could buy this building right now, cash, and not even dent the interest accrued this month." I looked down at my hands. They were filthy. My fingernails were broken. I was wearing shoes with holes in them. Just this morning, I had eaten half a bagel I found in a trash can near the park. "Why?" I choked out, tears finally spilling over, carving clean tracks through the grime on my cheeks. Why didn't he tell me? Why did he let my parents? Why did he let me live like this? Sterling's expression turned sympathetic. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. It was yellowed with age, the handwriting familiar and shaky. "This was in the vault," Sterling said softly. "Instructions were to deliver it to the bearer of the card upon activation." I took the envelope. My hands shook so hard I could barely tear the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Ethan, if you are reading this, I am gone, and the world has been unkind to you. I am sorry I could not give this to you sooner. Your parents, My son, they have a sickness of the soul. Greed would have destroyed them, and they would have destroyed you to get to this. I had to keep you safe by keeping you poor. It broke my heart every day to watch you suffer, but I knew the fire would forge you into something they could never be. You are strong, Ethan. You are kind. That is true wealth. Now you have the means to be free. Don't let the money change who you are. Just let it change where you are. Love. Gramps. I sobbed. A raw, guttural sound that came from the bottom of my stomach. I crumpled the letter to my chest, rocking back and forth in the expensive leather chair. Sterling waited. He didn't rush me. He poured a glass of water from a crystal carafe and set it silently near my elbow. He placed a box of tissues next to it. After a long time, the tears subsided into hiccups. I drank the water. It was the coldest, cleanest water I had ever tasted. So, I said, my voice hoarse, it's real. As real as gravity, Sterling said. You are now one of the wealthiest individuals in the city, perhaps the state. I looked at the black card sitting on the table. It didn't look like scrap metal anymore. It looked like a weapon. It looked like a key to a cage I hadn't realized I was locked in until the door swung open. I thought about my parents. I thought about Kevin, smirking as he set up his gaming monitors in my old bedroom, kicking my clothes into the hallway. I thought about my father throwing me out the front door, telling me I was worthless. Worthless. I looked at the number on the tablet again, 1.2 billion. A strange sensation washed over me. The fear was gone. The hunger was gone, replaced by a different kind of appetite. I sat up straighter. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, smearing the dirt, but I didn't care. Mr. Sterling, I said. Yes, sir? I don't want to go back out there looking like this. Sterling nodded, pulling a notepad from his pocket. Understandable. We have a concierge service for Obsidian clients. I can have a tailor here in 20 minutes, a barber in 15. We can have a meal catered from any restaurant in the city. Do it, I said. The words felt foreign, powerful. And I need some cash, just for my pocket. How much? Sterling asked, pen poised. I don't know, 5,000? Sterling didn't blink. I'll have 20,000 brought to the room in small bills, just in case, and I'll arrange for a secure transport to take you wherever you wish to go once you are refreshed. He stood up and walked to the door, then paused. Sir? Yeah? Welcome to the rest of your life. He closed the door, leaving me alone in the silence of the office. I reached out and picked up the black card. It was warm now, absorbing the heat from my hand. I squeezed it tight, feeling the edges bite into my palm. Thanks, Gramps, I whispered into the quiet room. I know exactly what to do. The silence in the private office was heavy, distinct from the oppressive quiet I was used to at home. That old silence was filled with the threat of violence. This silence was insulated, expensive, and smelled of mahogany polish and rich leather. Mr. Sterling, the bank manager who had looked at me with disdain only 20 minutes ago, now sat across from me with his hands clasped on the desk, his knuckles white. He was sweating. A single bead of perspiration trailed down his temple, betraying the composed facade he was desperately trying to maintain. Mr. Hunt, Sterling began, his voice dropping an octave, softer than velvet. We have taken the liberty of upgrading your account status immediately. The anomaly with the system was simply a security protocol designed for the caliber of assets attached to your grandfather OS legacy. It has been overridden. I sat deep in the leather chair, feeling the cool material against my arms. My tattered hoodie felt alien here, a rough, dirty intrusion in a sanctuary of wealth. I looked at the black card sitting on the desk between us. It didn't look like plastic anymore. It looked like a weapon. Is the money accessible? I asked. My voice sounded raspy, unused to making demands. Instantly, completely, Sterling nodded vigorously. You have access to a liquid checking account with a preliminary balance of $50 million for immediate expenses while we structure the remainder of the portfolio. The credit limit on the card itself is, for all intents and purposes, non-existent. He slid a heavy black metal box across the desk. It clicked open to reveal a smartphone, a sleek platinum key fob, and a heavy stack of cash, crisp $100 bills bound in a gold wrapper. "This describes our sovereign concierge service," Sterling explained, gesturing to the phone. "There is a number programmed in there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whatever you need, travel, real estate, legal counsel, security, you call that number, and it is handled. No questions asked." I reached out and took the stack of cash. It felt dense, real. For years, I had begged Kevin for $5 to buy lunch, only to be laughed at. I had worn shoes with holes in the soles because my parents claimed they couldn't afford new ones while buying Kevin a new console. Now, I held more money in one hand than my father made in 3 months. "I need clothes," I said, looking down at my stained jeans. "And I need a place to live. Today. I'm not going back. There." Sterling stood up immediately, buttoning his suit jacket. "Consider it done. I will have the concierge arrange a viewing at the Skylark Spire while you handle your wardrobe. I'll have a driver waiting for you out front in 3 minutes." The air outside the bank felt different. Maybe it was just the adrenaline, but the city smog seemed to clear, replaced by a sense of infinite possibility. A long black limousine idled at the curb. The driver, a mountain of a man in a dark suit, held the door open for me. He didn't look at my rags. He looked at me with deferential respect. "Where to, sir?" "The finest men's boutique in the city," I said, sinking into the plush backseat. "Somewhere I can walk out wearing the suit." We arrived at Obsidian and Silk, a boutique that didn't have price tags in the window, only a single mannequin illuminated by spotlight. When I walked in, the scent of cedar and expensive cologne hit me. A sales associate, a tall man with a manicured beard and a sneer, approached me with his hand raised. "I'm sorry. Deliveries are in the back alley. You can't be in here." I didn't say a word. I simply pulled the stack of cash from my pocket, $10,000 in a brick, and tossed it onto a glass display table. The slap of the money echoed in the quiet store. The associate frozen. His eyes darted from the cash to my face, his sneer evaporating into a look of pure panic. "I need everything," I said, my voice steadying, gaining a cold edge I didn't know I possessed. "Boxers, socks, shirts, suits, shoes, and I don't want to see a price tag. I want to see a mirror." For the next 2 hours, I was measured, pinned, and draped in fabrics softer than anything I had ever touched. Egyptian cotton, Italian wool, cashmere blends that felt like water against my skin. I stood before the three-way mirror in the dressing room. The person staring back wasn't the trembling boy who hid in the closet to avoid his mother's screaming. The charcoal 3-piece suit structured my shoulders, making me look broader, taller. The white shirt was crisp, the collar stiff and commanding. I ran a hand through my hair, which had been quickly styled by the in-house barber they had summoned. I looked like him, my grandfather. I saw the resemblance for the first time. The jawline, the eyes. I wasn't trash. I was a hunt. "Burn the old clothes," I told the attendant as I walked to the counter to pay with the black card. "Burn them, sir?" "Every thread," I said. "I don't want to see them again." The limousine took me to the Skylark Spire, the tallest residential building in the city. The bank's concierge had worked terrifyingly fast. A real estate agent named Victoria was waiting for me in the lobby, holding a tablet and looking anxious. "Mr. Hunt," she breathed, extending a hand. "It is an honor. Mr. Sterling informed us of your urgent requirements. We have the penthouse suite available. It was being held for a foreign diplomat, but, well, money talks, and you shouted." We shot up 60 floors in a private elevator that moved so smoothly I couldn't even feel the ascent. When the doors opened, I forgot how to breathe. The apartment was a glass palace in the sky. It was a sprawling open concept with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a 360-degree view of the city. The floors were white marble, heated from beneath. The kitchen was a masterpiece of chrome and black granite, but it was the silence that captivated me. I walked to the edge of the glass wall and looked down. The cars were specks, the people were invisible. The noise of the city, the sirens, the yelling, it was all gone. Here, above the clouds, there was only peace. It comes fully furnished, Victoria said, her heels clicking softly on the marble. Smart home integration, private security detail in the lobby, direct elevator access, 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, and a wraparound terrace. I walked into the master bedroom. The bed was massive, a king-sized island of white linens. I thought about the thin, lumpy mattress on the floor I had slept on the night before. I thought about Kevin's gaming chair that was worth more than my entire existence to my parents. "How much?" I asked, turning to Victoria. "The listing is $12 million, she said hesitantly. "But we can negotiate?" "No negotiation," I cut her off. "I'll take it. Paperwork today. Keys now." Victoria blinked, stunned. Yes, of course, Mr. Hunt. I'll make the call." I stood alone in the living room as she retreated to the hallway to make frantic phone calls. I pressed my hand against the cold glass of the window. I owned this view. I owned this silence. For the first time in 18 years, I was safe. A dark, warm feeling uncurled in my chest, not just relief, but power, vindication. They had thrown me out like garbage, expecting me to rot in the gutter. Instead, I had ascended to the heavens. There was one final purchase to make. The suit was the armor, the penthouse was the fortress, but I needed a steed. I had the driver take me to the exotic car dealership on the outskirts of the high-end district. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold. The showroom was a cathedral of automotive engineering. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins. They sat under the halogen lights like predatory beasts waiting to be unleashed. A salesman approached, spotting the suit and the way I carried myself. There was no hesitation this time, no judgment. He saw the cut of my jacket and smelled the money. "Good evening, sir. Looking for anything in particular?" "Speed," I said, "and control." I walked past the bright reds and yellows. They were too loud, too desperate for attention. I wanted something lethal. My eyes landed on a McLaren 720S in a dark, metallic gray, almost black, like a shadow given form. It looked angry. It looked fast enough to outrun the past. "That one," I pointed. "An excellent choice," the salesman grinned. "Twin-turbo V8, 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. It's a monster, sir." "I want to drive it out of here tonight." "The paperwork usually takes a few." I pulled out the black card again. It was becoming a magic wand, a key that unlocked the world. "I'm sure you can expedite it." 30 minutes later, the engine roared to life. It wasn't a noise. It was a physical sensation that vibrated through the chassis and into my spine. I gripped the leather steering wheel, feeling the connection between my hands and the machine. As I pulled out of the dealership lot, the raw power of the car surged beneath me. I merged onto the highway, pressing the accelerator. The force pinned me back into the seat. The city lights blurred into streaks of neon. I laughed. It started as a chuckle and grew into a loud, full-chested laugh that filled the cockpit. I was driving a $250,000 car to a $12 million apartment, wearing a $5,000 suit. Yesterday, I was nothing. Today, I was a king. But as the euphoria settled, a cold resolve took its place. I thought of my parents. I thought of their faces when they shoved me out the door. I thought of Kevin's smirk. They thought they had broken me. They thought they were rid of a burden. I glanced at the GPS on the dashboard. I wasn't ready to go to the penthouse yet. The night was young, and I had one loose end to tie up. I needed them to see. I didn't want to hurt them. I wanted to destroy their worldview. I wanted them to see exactly what they had thrown away. I shifted gears, the engine screaming in delight, and turned the wheel. The tires bit into the asphalt, turning the car away from the city center and toward the crumbling suburbs of my childhood. I was coming home, but this time I wasn't knocking. The leather of the steering wheel was warm beneath my palms as I eased the car off the main road and into the cracked streets of my childhood. The neighborhood hadn't changed. Peeling paint, crooked streetlights, sidewalks patched with cheap asphalt. It all looked smaller now, less intimidating, like a place I had already outgrown. Up ahead near the rusted bus stop sign, I saw them. My father was struggling with 3 overfilled grocery bags, his face flushed red with irritation. One of the handles tore, spilling cans onto the sidewalk. My mother stood a few steps behind him, arms crossed tightly, scanning the street like it was suddenly unsafe. And Kevin, hands in the pockets of his hoodie, trailed behind, staring at his phone. Of course he wasn't helping. I slowed the car. The engine purred, low and controlled, not loud, confident. My father kicked the fallen can. "Kevin, pick that up." Kevin rolled his eyes. I didn't drop it. I pressed the window button. The glass slid down silently. "Need a lift?" My father turned, ready to snap at a stranger. "Hey, mind your own." His words collapsed in his throat. He stared at the car, then at me, then back at the car like his brain couldn't decide which part of the picture was wrong. "Ethan?" My mother froze. Her purse slipped from her shoulder and hit the pavement. I rested my arm on the doorframe. My hand was steady, but my chest wasn't. It tightened, a familiar reflex, like my body was bracing for impact that never came. "Hello," I said. "Mom, Dad." Kevin stepped forward, eyes wide, not at me, but at the dashboard. "Holy crap, is that yours?" He squinted. "You steal it or something?" I almost laughed. My father recovered first. He straightened, puffing his chest out, grabbing for authority out of habit. "What kind of sick joke is this?" he demanded. "You think showing up in a rented car changes anything?" "Rented?" Kevin snorted. "Yeah, right." I nodded once, calmly. "Look it up." They hesitated. "The registration," I added. "It's public record." My father pulled out his phone with shaking fingers. My mother leaned over his shoulder. Kevin craned his neck. The longer they stared at the screen, the quieter they became. My father swallowed. Hard. This says Ethan Hunt," I finished. "Owner." Silence fell like a dropped plate. My mother's face shifted first. Shock melted into calculation. She stepped closer, eyes glassy. "Oh, Ethan," she whispered. "Where have you been? We were so worried. You didn't answer any calls." I tilted my head. "You changed the locks before sunset." Her mouth opened, closed. "Well, your father was upset. You know how he gets. We were just trying to teach you responsibility." I let the words sit between us. "Responsibility," I repeated. "You threw me out to make room for Kevin's gaming setup." Kevin bristled. "That's not..." "Quiet," my father snapped automatically. Then he looked at me again, his voice lowering. "Listen, son, whatever this is, we're family. You don't just walk away from family." I felt it then. Not anger, not pain, nothing. "You told me men figure it out," I said. "So I did, without you." His jaw tightened. "You wouldn't have survived without us. We fed you, we housed you." "You tolerated me," I corrected, "until the law said you didn't have to." Kevin scoffed, trying to salvage his pride. "So what? You got lucky. That doesn't mean you're better than us." I finally looked at him. Really looked. "You were never my problem," I said quietly. "You were theirs." My mother's composure cracked. She grabbed the edge of the door. "Ethan, please. Your brother needs braces. The mortgage..." I gently pushed her hand away from the paint. "Do you remember," I said, "when I asked for $10 for a school trip? You said I wasn't worth the investment." My father's eyes dropped. My grandfather thought differently. The color drained from my father's face. "That old man," he scoffed weakly. "He didn't have anything." "He had everything," I said, "and he left it to the one person who treated him like a human being." "How much?" Kevin blurted. I paused, just long enough. $1.2 billion, my mother gasped. My father staggered back like he'd been punched. "With a B?" he whispered. "With a B." My mother broke then. Real tears, desperate ones. "We can fix this. We can start over." I shook my head. "You already chose." I rolled the window up. The glass sealed the space between us, clean, final. As I pulled away, I checked the mirror once. They stood there in the middle of the street, surrounded by spilled groceries and broken pride, staring at the life they'd thrown out like trash. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. If this story felt familiar, if you've ever had to choose peace over family expectations, you're not alone. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe if you believe healing doesn't have to be loud.